Yeah, about quarter to.
Okay, sounds good.
If that's okay.
Get me back on track. Okay, I'm Melanie Meitl with Integrity Realty. I'll try to make this really informal, and she had to hear from me yesterday.
Yes.
So I'm sorry you're here twice, but you've been covering about housing and different economic factors. This is personal finance, right? Is that the
Yes.
gist of the class? Okay. I talked to the group last year that had this class, and we talked mostly about lending and housing and how to navigate it in the real life world. Because right now it seems really foreign to you. You're like, I'm not gonna be buying a house for a really long time. I'm broke. I live in the dorms. I can barely afford rent. But right now, and the things you do right now are super important for 5 years down the road when you're ready to buy. Number one, the first thing, let's talk about the loan process and kind of simplify it. It's much more complicated than this, but there's not really a reason to go through step by step, and you're not gonna have a quiz on this or anything like that. So let's talk about real life. You're probably getting credit card offers thrown at you right now. You already get those in the mail, and they want you to borrow money or get another credit card. And the really big key right now is to keep your credit clean and don't borrow a lot of money. Now, some of you are borrowing student loans, and that's okay because you're borrowing money or getting grants or getting scholarships or whatever you gotta do to get through college. It's just super cool that you're here because you're our future. Like, people minimize it a bit, but you guys literally are the most important thing, I think, in assets that we have for this world right now. I'm 50 and I still have a lot to contribute, but you're our key. So kudos for being at college, because sometimes it sucks and it's really hard. My daughter goes to West Texas A&M in Canyon, Texas, and she struggles. It's hard. I mean, she's not like a natural student. Tests are hard and classes are boring and teachers expect a lot out of you, and so I know the struggle, so thank you for being here. It's really important. But one of the things you can do right now is to not get into a lot of debt. You'll thank yourself later. You're gonna be like, oh, it's really not a big deal if I wanted to get a new car. I'm gonna go ahead and get that fancier car because the payment was only like $50 more a month. But you're paying for it for another 5 years longer. So there's things that you can shortcut now. Be conservative. You don't always have to go to Starbucks. I love Starbucks, but you don't always have to go. And keep your credit clean. So don't be borrowing money, the least that you can, but definitely don't be borrowing money frivolously for credit cards to get your hair done or to buy cool new shoes and things like that. Now take good care of yourself. I'm not saying that at all, but you don't need to borrow money all of the time. So when you go in to start to buy a house, let's start, you walk into my office and I'm gonna say, do you have your loan approval? That's gonna be the very first thing. And loan approval is something that you can get from about any lending institution, but there are lots of variables within that. So let me break down the loan approval a bit. They're gonna wanna know what your income is, and they're gonna wanna know, number one, how much money do you have saved up? So you walk in and you're like, I do have my loan approval, but I'm borrowing 100%. I don't know, have you talked about loan types at all? Like, not really.
Like installment credit and things like that, a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay,
That's fine.
So when somebody comes into my office and they have loan approval, they may have like an FHA loan. That means the government's gonna back your loan and you're gonna borrow 100%. You buy a house for $200,000, you're borrowing $200,000. But a lot of times people have money saved up and they're borrowing $150,000 on that $200,000. You've saved up $50,000 over the last 5 years. This person is in the driver's seat. This person has more power. They have better rate, they have better options, and way less loan fees. Is it doable to borrow the 100%? Absolutely, and sometimes you just need to do that to be able to get into a house. But this person, they're driving the economy, they're in charge. So if you can save up just a little bit every month, if that's your goal to get a house eventually, and sometimes, let me talk to the women just a bit. We minimize ourselves a bit and we're like, well, I'm gonna get an education, I'm gonna get a good job, but my husband's gonna be the one that's gonna do that. And that's not how it is these days. 73% or 72% of first-time home buyers are women. And so it's important to get in there and get your own money saved up. I believe in a really good masculine-feminine balance, and I believe in the power of husband and wife. I believe in all of that. But I also believe in empowering myself and staying financially sound. So girls, don't discount yourself and be like, yeah, I'm gonna zone out a little bit, because it's gonna be important for you. So don't borrow a lot of money, keep your credit good, and save when you can. Now is not a good time to talk about saving. I mean, you're just filling your car with gas and hoping not to have to eat the cat food all the time. So like, I get it, you're not just fluent in money right now. But once you get your jobs, and hopefully that will be in the next few years, some of you are going on to 4 years probably, you're maybe freshmen and sophomores, you're gonna go back to work in a couple of years, pretty soon you're gonna start getting a paycheck. Start saving a little bit right away. When I was 45, I was like looking at all my financial planning of my business and I thought, I've done a good enough job of managing this that if I wanted to retire now, I can. And that's not what the mainstream media is gonna sell you. They're gonna try to sell you that you need to work clear up until you're 65.2 or whatever the retirement age is.
It's gonna be me.
Right, and there is a better way and there is an easier way, and the real key to that is right now. Like building yourself right now, and as soon as you start getting a paycheck, start putting a little bit of money in that 401k and some kind of investments and saving up cash. It'll make a world of difference. You'll be so surprised. And I don't retire because now I can do really good things for other people, and that's my focus, is to change the housing world and be able to help people. And so I'll keep working for a while because I love it. But you can empower yourself at a really young age if you change your mind financially. Another thing is a lot of us, and I did it when I was young too, and I had to self-correct. I charged credit cards and I tried to keep up with my neighbors. I was worried about what I drove and what I lived in, and I will tell you, after selling thousands of houses, that a $50,000 home that is cute and clean and flowers in the front and nice plumbing and a nice roof and well-maintained creates just as loving a family and a wonderful, safe environment as a $500,000 house does. Now, if a $500,000 house is your goal, absolutely do it. Like, dream big. I have a $500,000 house. But I may sell it pretty soon and go move into my $50,000 house because I know that I'm just as cool at my $50,000 house as I am in my big one. But don't overspend, because when you first go out to get that loan approval, they're gonna say, okay, you're making good money, you saved up a little, I'm gonna loan you $1 million. And so you're gonna, in your brain, think, well, I can go look for houses in the $1 million range. And then you're gonna have to make your mortgage payment. And it's gonna be $8,000 a month. And your insurance on a house that big is gonna be $10,000 a year. And before you know it, your husband and wife relationship is stressed. Your kids aren't getting what they need at home because you're so focused on making that big payment. So the moral of that story is never borrow as much as they'll give you. They'll loan you the moon. And so if they'll loan you $200,000, look at houses in the 125 to 150 range. Like, never, they'll lend you enough money just to hang yourself. And I see it all the time, over and over again. And that's not a popular thing for a realtor to say, because realtors should be like, buy big, buy the biggest house I have, spend money. And that is how I make my money, by you spending money. But over the years, I've learned that little cute house that's safe and really, I have a problem backing up. And really reliable will build your family and make a happy, happy home. So that's one of my most strongest pieces of advice, I guess, is that not to borrow as much money as they'll give you, and save up and keep your credit clean. Let's talk about housing in general. Is that like demand and okay?
Sure, that sounds great.
So the loan process is its whole big thing. Don't let any lender scam you. You have the right to mortgage shop when you are ready to mortgage shop. You have the right to, it will not affect your credit if you apply to several different places. And if you find a good realtor, or you have a good realtor, a real estate advisor, or your parents are good at it, they'll kind of watch you and coach you through and say, go apply at this bank because they have better rates. Go apply here, they have better fees. You are always in the driver's seat, and if you keep your credit clean and you have some down money saved up, you are in control. And so always remember that. I see a lot of people get stuck in that. Yeah.
Would you recommend going through a local bank or something rather than an online type?
Yeah, I would. So we are, your generation and even my generation, we're really comfortable hopping online. And so if you're gonna get loan approval, you probably hop on and go to Rocket Mortgage. They have good advertising, and you're like, oh, that sounds really good. And probably 8 out of 10 of my loans that are with Rocket Mortgage don't close because Rocket does naughty things to you. They'll throw in a lot of fees at the end. They'll change your interest rate really high at the end. So an online lender is not always better. Now, if you hear of a recommendation from somebody and said, I did use so-and-so, go with them. That's fine, but protect yourself. But your local bank, if you were buying here in Colby, I'd say we have 7 or 8 really good local lenders to choose from, and do that, because you get in front of them. And I talked to the group yesterday. I think that relationships are going to start being key. Like right now, it's really easy to hide behind your phones. I do it too. Social media makes it super, super easy to kind of zone out and do your thing, but I really do think in the next few years, what you're gonna see is that my relationship with you is important. So whatever field you go into, I think your relationships are gonna be super important in how you handle yourself with other people. Everybody thinks, whoa, you started your business and you're gonna ride around in your cute little Jeep and show houses all day and post stuff on social media. That's not what it is at all. Like, it's not anything like that. And so I spend a lot of money on the quality of my pictures and my marketing, and social media makes it look easy, but it's not at all. And so relationships are key. I don't know where I was going with the relationship part. Oh, your local lender. Lots of local lenders. If you want to buy a house here in Colby, I would immediately give you a local lender because they have good rates. They have good fees. Let's talk about if you were coming to Colby to buy a house right now. Are y'all renting? You live in the dorms? All of the above, live with family? Okay. If you're gonna buy a house right now in Colby, you'd have like 2 to choose from. There's just not a
Really?
You should be able to come and have 10 or 12, to look at and decide between. In Colby, the market is really, really slim. And I don't know where y'all will be moving, but it'll probably be that way too. And so realtors shouldn't say this either, but you should probably rent when you first move somewhere. Buying right out of the gate is sometimes hard. You should live in it for 1 or 2 years before you'll get your money back of purchasing. And so if you come to Colby and you're only gonna work here for a year or two, I'm gonna suggest that you rent, even though the rental market is really hard here too. So renting is definitely an option that I'm an advocate for. Most realtors are not. They want you to buy. That's how they keep the economy turning. But there is a place to rent. There is a place in time that renting is more important. I think the housing market is gonna change drastically. By the time you're ready to buy a house in 5 years, I don't know that real estate agents will be the same capacity as you see them today. Right now, you have a buyer's agent, you have a seller's agent. There's certain times that, like I can work as both a buyer and seller agent. But I think it will change because it's so online, like with Zillow and all the things that you see. I think you'll see more of an advising capacity coming from realtors. So the housing market for you is gonna change when it's your time to buy too. If you keep your credit clean, you're gonna be able to have more power.
You mentioned that you can be both a buyer's agent and a seller's, but not for the same transaction, right?
So
Or
I have
can you?
I can only get paid in the state of Kansas from one
Yeah,
side.
that's what
I
I thought.
can't collect money from a buyer and a seller.
Right.
And so if you come to me and you own your house and you wanna sell it, I'm gonna say, hey, let's sit down and I'll do a market analysis for you. We'll see what your house is worth, and then we'll cover what my fees are gonna be. And I usually charge 6% of the sale amount. So if you have a $100,000 house, that's $6,000. And this, I can only collect my money from one party. I can't, in the state of Kansas, it's a rule, I can't collect it.
It could be conflicting.
Yeah, I can't be a dual agent in the state of Kansas. Okay. I am just a seller's agent. So I treat my buyers really, really well, and I have a lot of repeat buyers, but only one party can pay me. Let's see, where should we head with housing type stuff?
Like if they walk in and say, okay, I'm ready.
We're ready to buy, we got our loan approval, what do we do next? Okay, in a typical environment, like Kansas City or something, you're gonna walk in and you're be like, this is my price range, 150 to 200. And they'll say, here's your 10 houses that we're gonna look at, or tell me which ones are your favorite. Do you like the kitchen here? Do you like the bathroom here? Whatever your options are. Is the garage big enough? And you'll sort through them. Here, it's way different. I put you on my texting alert system and you wait until one comes up that you like.
Oh.
It's just really different, really different here. But in the city, it's going to be way different for you. Are some of you planning on moving to bigger cities? You don't know yet. You're just here living the life right now as a college student. My daughter's the same way. She just doesn't know. Be really careful who you get as a realtor to represent you. Real estate is just such a slimy business sometimes, and there's some fantastic realtors out there, and there's some really bad realtors out there. So with every industry, just do your due diligence and protect yourself. So
how would you know?
How would you know? Okay, you're moving to Colby, Kansas, and you want to know who do I work with? Well, ask your friends and coworkers first of all. They're going to know. They're going to have heard who's helped who and who's done it honestly. But if I was going to a big town, I would hop on Zillow or a platform for real estate that's popular in that area, and I'd see who's ranked the best. We should talk about Google reviews too, because that's something that I know this is personal finance, but yesterday was small business, and I meant to talk about that yesterday.
Yeah.
I would hop on and see who's ranked the best and who sells the most, because the ones that are selling the most or who's getting repeat business, and they're the ones who are engaged in your community. So that's what I would do. That's how I would find that agent. Yesterday I meant to talk about Google reviews. We were doing business planning, and you were doing your business plan. What was your business? I forgot.
A dance studio.
Yes, okay. So this is something, you asked me yesterday, what's something negative that's happened, something positive and something negative that's happened to you that you've had to veer from your business plan? The positives are easy. Unexpected success, helping people, you can't plan that in a business plan. But one of the more recent things that I have had happen to me, and this will happen to all of you if you open your own businesses, and it may happen to the businesses that you work for. My biggest problem right now is scams or fraud or hello.
Hi.
Or entry into my internal systems, tracking, just things like that. And also the power that customers that are not my customers have over me with Google reviews. So you would think that everybody would hop on Google. This is a lesson probably I would like to teach more to help you manage the way you interact with the world versus a business opinion. I've worked for 13 years to build my reputation, and I'm not too fazed by one really unhappy customer as long as I have 200 happy, because there's always gonna be somebody it's not about me, it was really about them. But every once in a while, there'll be somebody that hops on my Google reviews, and I built that as a 5-star review for 13 years. And really proud of it. You wanna know about somebody when you start doing business with them, you wanna hop on. I had a lady that was unsatisfied with a transaction. I was not her agent, I was the seller's agent, and I represented the house. And after the transaction, she and all of her friends got on Google and rated me a 1-star. They didn't really have anything to do with me, but it was about them. How do you handle that?
Wow.
Because now your dance studio only had 5-star reviews, and if somebody rates you a 1-star, you're instantly a 3.
Yeah.
Say you have 200 great Google reviews, and you get 5 1-stars from her and her friends when they were drinking on New Year's Eve. You now are 4-star. And it's devastating mentally for a business, and how do you handle that? Okay, number one, as a consumer, you may have been really mad about how your hair got done at some place. Do not hop on there and do a 1-star review. Unless they got you and they stole your credit card and they did terrible things to you, you go to the business first and you work that out. Don't ever, as I think something that we're not teaching enough is that it's so electronic, it's so easy to hide behind your phone. If they deserve a 2 or 3-star review because they put tires on your car and they scammed you and they used the wrong tires or whatever the example is, that's okay. You can rate them that way. But if you're just upset because maybe you handled yourself poorly and you didn't like how I stood up to you, it's not fair to get on Google reviews and review the one. Google will even pay you these days to get on and be a reviewer, and a lot of people are starting to do that. So be careful with that. That sticks with you forever. Those people that did that to me, they cost me a lot of money. I had to make sure that I hired an attorney to make sure I was doing everything correctly and saying everything correctly. So they cost me thousands and thousands of dollars, and I took a class on it then. How do you react to negative Google reviews? You stay professional and you don't fight back. You say back to them that I was sorry for your poor experience, if it was even experience they should have been reviewing, or you get on there and you say, you were not my client, and you move on. So what you do online will stick with you. Like if you go on and Google review me or Starbucks or the laundromat or anything right now, that's gonna stay on your profile forever. This lady had gone in the very next day and reviewed a men's cabaret in Denver. So it tells you what kind of Google reviews she's doing, and it's not okay. So take that as a lesson to be really careful with what you do on Google reviews. And as you go in further into the world and you're working on securing your jobs and securing your business plans and securing your housing, just remember how you conduct yourself today. It's going to follow you through for a very long time, if not forever. That was a deterrent from the housing.
That's wonderful.
But I have been wanting to talk about that Google reviewing process a little bit more and how people should take it more seriously.
Can I add just a little
Yeah.
bit to your whole online presence, your whole online branding and that
Yeah, talk about
basically? Whatever you post, it's there forever.
Right.
You may
Right.
think that you've deleted it or that, but there are programs and
Yeah.
ways that they can go back and they can
Right.
find that. So future employers, before they hire you
Right.
anymore, they are going to get on there and they're going to do an intense search. And they
It'll
want
show
to
up.
know, are you partying and have your beer and
Right,
your
right.
whatever, are you chugging, whatever
Right.
it is?
Right.
And that can impact your possible chances for
One of the
employment.
things, even more than if you're drinking beer or have tattoos, because I have tattoos and I cover them up to work, is did you get in the drama?
Right, that's true.
That's my number
Yes.
one factor when interns ask to work for me or people ask to shadow me or they ask me to speak or whatever. I look them up, and if they posted how much they hated their roommate next door in the dorm and that she was a witch, then I'm like, I'm gonna scroll on by.
That's what
So
we do for dance, cause like I work under my dance teacher.
Yeah.
And she actually hired me because like I wasn't a part of the drama.
I agree.
And
Totally agree.
with dance like studios, especially in small towns, I feel like word of mouth is how
Yes.
you get your business.
Absolutely.
Like even with like you said bad reviews,
Yeah.
if someone
Yeah.
who like in the town is known well, people believe them even though like they should just like
I totally agree.
And even relationship drama
Yeah.
and really berating the other person,
Right.
degrading them, whatever, that can come back to bite
And you
you.
can be really authentic. I mean,
It
I'm
can
super
be.
authentic. If you look up my Facebook profile, you're gonna see how really earthy and strange I am. I mean, I grow all my own herbs and I love real estate and I love house flipping and my husband drives old 57 Chevys and we fix up cars. I mean, we're really authentic people. Does not mean you have to be bland online. You can be exactly who you are, but you will never hear me post anything negative about another realtor. There's days I want to, trust me. There's
Sure.
days I want to get on there and say, this world is so messed up, why are people doing this or this? But I don't. I just try to put more positive out in the world. So be really careful with that as you're moving forward too.
That might kind of tie into the name of your business.
Oh yeah, okay, so let me back up to maybe some of the business planning stuff we talked about
Okay.
yesterday, because that's relevant for this too. Should I finish the housing conversation?
Go
first?
ahead,
I
the
jump
housing
with that?
conversation,
So you walk into my office and we're gonna put you on the texting list, we're gonna make sure you have loan approval, and we're gonna empower you for when the right house comes up. And you're gonna love that house I have that has granite countertops and new backsplash and a nice little pickup fence, and it's gonna be $300,000. You're gonna have to really decide where's your budget and what can I put up with and what can I not? Do I have to have a one-car garage? Can I do without a garage? Do I have to have a storage shed? Do I have to have a fenced-in backyard? There's just variables you'll have to decide once it's time to buy your house, what you can live with and what you can live without. And it's okay to dream really big. I'm a big dreamer. I'm a big risk taker. I don't want you to think that just because I drive a 2008 Jeep and I say I'm gonna move into my $50,000 house, doesn't mean I don't dream really big. I'm a big, big, big dreamer. So dream big. I'm not saying that at all. Just be responsible with money and don't buy into the agenda that they'd like to sell you of buy more and do more and work harder and work faster. If I had to go back to the beginning of my business, I would have taken better care of myself. In the beginning, I worked myself really, really, really hard. I still do, but I've learned that there's a balance and your generations, you're figuring this out so well and they're doing so much better than my generation. They take care of themselves better. They rest better. They drink enough water. They're not eating out doing Cheetos all the time. Like they're doing so good. And so I'm proud of the people that are taking care of yourself. That's so important. But, okay, so you come into my office and we're looking for housing. That's kind of how that's going to go. Colby's really different, and I try to get to know every person individually and what you need, and then we'll back into it from there. Let's talk about business and how it started. I was a loan officer, and I thought, gosh, this needs cleaned up. Like, this industry can do better. There's a better way for you to come to me and me to be able to help you. And so when I made my business plan, I wanted to feel like home. I wanted, when you walk into my office, I wanted you to be comfortable with me and think that the chocolate chip cookies and the doormats way of life is exactly what you wanted, because it just feels good to be in my office and it feels safe to be in my presence. And so my whole goal, and it still is to keep everybody safe in my presence. I don't know about physically safe, but financially, mentally, conversationally, all of that. I wonder.
That's okay,
I
that's fine.
keep on, if I veer from that at all, I go back to my original business plan and I remember, I'm not gonna sell out to the big companies that want me to pay me, $750,000 a year to work for them and manage their 500 agents. I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna keep selling doormats and that feeling. And so my Integrity Realty was created because of that. And so as you get into looking for careers and looking for businesses, remember your core values. Don't just sell out. It's easy to sell out. A lot of people do, and that's what's wrong with our world. Nobody's sticking to that good stuff, and we need you so bad, and we need you to stick to the good stuff. We need you to not buy into everything they're telling you about relationships and money, and just keep to your core. But when I first started my business, that was my goal, so I keep on going back to that. One of the things that I did as a mistake when I first started my business is that I underestimated myself and I didn't dream big enough in the beginning. After each year at the end of the day, I would look back and I would see where I was versus where I thought I would be, and it was so much bigger. And I was like, I gotta rethink this, and I gotta replan this, and I gotta dream a little more. So I would kind of leave that with you too, as it's really the grunge time right now. You're coming up on finals here in a couple weeks, and it's just, and then summer's coming. What's your summer job? What are you gonna do? There's just so many decisions that you're making right now. Stick to who you are in your core, and don't buy into any of that drama. Stay out of it, and good things will come to you. You're really important, so we need that from you. Should we talk about, is your housing unit have anything with like the economy or
Sure. Yeah,
things like that?
great.
Okay, so one of the things that the US economy loves to do to us is to keep us consumers a little scared. They like to fill us full of what's the dollar gonna do? What's the GDP doing? What's the Fed's gonna do with interest rate? Like all these things that just infiltrate you and fill you full of uncertainty. Here's what I'm certain of. We need you, and you're here to stay, and you are our future. So don't buy into that as much as they say. If it's true and that's what they're doing, the big old wheels are gonna mess with us all. But we need you to influence your little circle where you are, and it's starting right now. Like everything you do on a daily basis, who you communicate with, the way you treat your friend group, the way you treat your teachers, the way you treat the people that you work with, is so important, and it's gonna stick with you. And your teachers, your professors always lecture you of like, what you're doing on social media matters, and how you show up to time on class matters, and how you get your assignments in on time matter. And you're just like, this is driving me crazy. Like, I know all that. Why are they telling? But it's so true. They're just trying to prep you to get you into this real scenario that's going to be coming up within a year or 1 month. She graduates in a month, or things that are going to happen. So stick true to who you really are and treat people well. Invest in your relationships. Those relationships will get you further than any money management or economy concept. But don't buy into the fear would be my other big concept. Learn it, try to be an informed consumer, but don't let the world overwhelm you, because I need you worse here in my present life doing good things with me in our local economy more than I need you out fighting the big bad guys all the time. We'll work together and fight the big bad guys. We need you to be in your little circle right now, so don't minimize your importance. And how important you are right now for our economy.
I love that.
So,
Yeah, that's really
well, they
good.
underestimate themselves. They're sick of taking finals.
I know.
And they're so important. All of them are so important to be here.
And I even have the graphic over on the right-hand side of the board there. It's like the cliff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, are we going to have that soft landing for our
Recession,
economy?
yeah.
Or are we
Yes.
going to fall farther and go into recession?
Right.
And even beyond that would be depression, which
Right.
they're not
Right.
even talking about that.
And we might get there.
We hope not.
I mean,
We've been there before.
We're at a tipping point, I do feel, in housing here.
Mhm.
The cost of housing and the income levels.
Yes.
We're right where I don't feel like our economy can withstand much of an increase in housing costs without income going up, and you're not seeing income going up. So it is frustrating to be human right now.
You started working right about when the financial crisis happened, right?
Yeah, so when I first started into lending, the 80s had happened. It was way before me, but I worked under a bunch of old guys that said, Melanie, you're gonna learn the 80s, because the 80s was this massive crisis. It was this horrible, interest rates were, 20-something percent, all
it's
farmers were out
crazy.
of business. And so I was not doing anything in that time. I was in high school at that time, but I learned from the guys who survived it. And so
2008 you worked.
yeah, let's see, what year I have started, I was still in lending at that time.
But
yeah.
do you see some similarities?
I do.
Okay.
I do see some similarities. I see, it's a time to not be frivolous. It's a time to not, in my opinion, to not be purchasing so much and being, it's just a time to be more conservative. I do see the symptoms of going there. And I see the housing being something, I don't know how deep you want to get into it, but the National Association of Realtors, I don't know if you've heard the news, they had a lawsuit against them for some things that realtors were doing in other towns that had nothing to do with here. But sometimes there's really big wheels that affect all of us. And I think that the key to keeping us sovereign people and healthy as a community is to encourage home ownership and to protect it. Because some of the goals sometimes, and I don't want to get too big into politics or the government, but if you were a renter for your whole life, somebody else has control over you. And so if you purchase land or a home, you have power, and we don't want to let them take that away from us. And so as a realtor, I'm pretty passionate about protecting your rights to own property in the future, because I'm only here a short 100 years, so are you, but if I don't pay it forward a little bit and protect what you and your grandkids are gonna do, why am I even here? And so I'm a really big proponent, and I will fight on a really national level to always protect homeownership rights. That's really important to me, but I do see the economy changing, and I do see the signs and symptoms that we're in the stressful times, it's coming right now.
So you could foresee that maybe the government would start owning more of the
Yeah,
properties?
you're seeing it already. The bigger companies are coming in and they've bought all the farmland. There's bigger companies that are building massive apartment complexes because they want more renters and they want to control that. And I'm for everybody to have free will in the business economy, but I'm not for forcing him and her to not be able to buy a house. I think they should always have that right, and that's something that I'll fight for pretty hard, because when you take away their right to have homes and land and property, then none of us have control.
That's right.
So I'm a big proponent of that.
Do you see with the economy, do you see the pricing of homes coming down? Because during COVID, it just went way up
so
there.
Colby's kind of, we're this little strange honeypot of a community. I don't know, it's always growing and things are always good here really, and we've never had a high number of foreclosures, we've never had a high number of homeless or anything like that. So Colby's a little bit different than the rest of the world. We saw prices escalate really high, we saw them come down, and now they're just kind of right here. I don't see a huge change this season of anything.
What about outside of Colby overall?
Yeah, I think it's super volatile everywhere. Everywhere's a little different. You hear of spots in Denver that are really popular, and then you hear of prices that have plummeted. One of the things I told the business group yesterday was, when I started into real estate, and this is a lesson to take to no matter what industry you're gonna go into, I didn't want to be like anybody else. I didn't pattern myself after anybody local. I went to Dallas, I went to San Francisco, I went to all over and found the best realtors in the area. And I actually paid one of them to let me shadow them for 2 months. And so I shadowed mentors, and I worked with people, and I learned their way of doing business. Then I came back and learned how to do it right in Kansas with the legal requirements. But one of the things that I think is so important is that you think bigger and you dream bigger, and you go outside yourself to find people to pattern yourself after, and then dream even bigger than that. And so I tried to never do anything like I had done in the past, and it worked for me. There's no wrong way to do it.
Right.
So
well, because the housing market has almost priced out
Yes.
home ownership for a lot of people. My
Yes.
daughters are talking,
Yeah.
how are we ever going to buy a home, Mom?
Well, and you
You know?
see, something I think you see in reaction to that are like multi-generations living in the same house.
Mhm.
You see parents and grandkids and children all living together, buying bigger homes, separating the top and the bottom level. I see that often even here. You see young professionals like you guys will be soon, house sharing, you know.
Yeah.
Used to be a negative that you had to have a roommate, I don't wanna have to, now people are intentionally doing that and buying homes together to make that happen. So there's lots of different ways to do it, and you guys are phenomenal at thinking outside the box. Social media has empowered us better that way, so.
You mentioned like buying homes together. Any thoughts about that? Like
Yeah, you
if
can
you're in
get
a
yourself
relationship or
You can
whatever?
get yourself in pretty deep, pretty quick. There has to be a lot of rules, so say the two of you wanna buy a house together, and then you're not friends in 3 months, you're still obligated, it's just as if you were married and you had this house together. So you gotta be really careful with that, but as long as communication is exact and ground rules are set up front, if one person needs to sell, what happens for the other person? I see it work often. Kind of like a marriage relationship, but
What do you see happen if, say, you know, in a relationship, they buy a home together and then they break up? What do you usually see happening in that kind of?
usually they come to me and we sell it.
Okay, that's what I
Typically,
figured.
is what's happening. And sometimes just one person buys it and then they are the landlord type relationship too. I see that often. I
Okay.
see a lot of grandparents buying them and them all living together.
Oh,
There's just a different housing structure that's come on when there's not enough housing. But Colby, we don't have enough housing, so you know there's just not enough inventory.
do we just have so many people moving into our area?
I think that so everybody wants me to be on their committees and say, why is Colby housing the way it is? Well, it happened in 1960 and it's nothing I can fix, you know. The people that planned all the housing development here in the 50s and 60s had no idea that it would be this popular. Well, one, we don't have great shopping as far as if you want to go to the mall or everything, but we have everything you need. We have the hospital and the grocery store and Walmart and walking trails, and it feels good to live here and it's safe. And the most question I get asked when people move here is, what's your crime rate? And our crime rate's 0. Well, except I think we had a drug bust last week or something, but you know, we just don't have.
It's very low,
very
negative.
low key, which we'll talk about that, I guess, I don't know,
Yeah.
right by the school over there.
Oh, no.
But crime rate here is nearly 0, and that safety is sometimes
Yes.
people's #1 concern. So,
What would draw people to town?
there's everything from implement dealership jobs to farmers that need jobs to, this is a really good place to start a business. You know, and you've seen that downtown more recently, we've had 4 or 5 new businesses that have started and have been successful. So Colby is a caring community. I don't know if you feel that way, if you're a college student, because I'm not on campus and I don't know that, but if you were to reach out to the community people, we would be, and we would take you all in. So I think Colby's a safe place and it's a caring place is why.
They have good schools,
Good
things like
schools.
that. People look at that when they're buying a home.
Yeah.
And
And we always have our growing pains and it's not perfect,
of
you know,
course,
but it's
yeah,
just a really good place to live.
yeah,
So,
okay.
does anybody have any questions that I can answer? I kind of jumped around from housing to
Yeah,
my
It's
business,
great.
but
I love it.
however it works. Are any of you interested in getting into real estate? Maybe? You don't know?
I don't know, but
Yeah?
maybe
Where are you from?
from Vienna, Austria.
Gotcha. And would you go back home and do it or you stay in the
Back
States?
home,
Yeah?
but
Just wait and see.
but I'm doing a business major, so
My degree is in ag business from Fort Hays State, and business is universal, so you're in the right place. It really is. It can go to any industry, and I told the kids yesterday, there's room for you in every industry. Don't even limit yourself, because even if it's real estate, even if it's my competitor, I have room for you. If you are professional and you are driven and you're willing to work hard and you have good morals and you stay out of the drama, there is room for you in every industry.
That's good.
Business is a really good background.
That's
Were
good.
you gonna ask something?
I was.
Yeah.
But it's more related to
No, I like it.
yesterday.
Anything
Yeah,
is
no, I
fine.
like it.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Our rough draft was due last night, and you talked about was your financial plan and
Yeah.
that changes. When you first started out, like, did you look at other competitors of having?
I
it
did.
like that?
Other competitors are not really willing to share their numbers. Is that what you're running into?
Yeah, but like, what like made you like? I don't know, like estimate, guess,
Uh-huh.
those like number costs.
So I don't know how complicated Sandy wanted the business plans and the financial statements, but my initial one was pretty simplistic. I knew that I needed a printer and office space and office materials and the things that I needed, and then I knew what my costs were gonna be for my building, for rent or whatever. But I kept it pretty simple after that. And then when I went and shadowed with different people, I would ask them, what's this cost, what's this cost? I don't know about a dance studio though.
No, like I've been talking because like, I don't know, it's like you talk, everyone knows what's going on, like what's the drama. I feel like there's a lot of drama in dance, so like I
There is a
know-
lot of drama in dance.
Yeah, I think so.
There it is. But like, I was just wondering, cause like, I don't know how deep she wants it either. And
Yeah, I don't either. Mine, the original one was pretty basic.
I just thought of something. Like, are there other dance studios like in Goodland or Colby here
Yeah.
that you've talked with, or?
well, the one here, I'm not really on good terms with
Okay.
her.
Okay, but
One
when
of
you
the,
think of Hayes, I can think of someone that I know that my daughter took dance from. She'd probably be happy to help you, you know, if you talk
I
with
also
her.
have a contact too, if you would like it, I'll talk to you afterwards.
Like, I feel like
She's
that's the
low.
hardest part of the business plan.
Yes.
is the
Mhm.
I do too.
financial part.
I do too.
Yep.
Yes,
It's the
the one
unknown.
contact I'll give you, she closed 3 or 4 years ago, but she's also an accountant now, so she may have some, I'll give you that when we get done. Yeah, the financial part of a business plan, have you all had to do the business plan class yet? That's coming up probably for them.
Intro to business, have you had that?
Intro to business,
You do a business plan and intro to business, and then you do a more detailed one in management of small business.
okay, so
So-
they may not have got
Yeah.
there yet.
Uh-huh,
I don't think it needs to be very detailed, in my opinion, but I don't wanna say that and say any
Right.
specific
Like, that
things.
looks simple. So hopefully-
Right.
you don't wanna get too deep, because then you get mired down and you're like, I
And
don't have an
also
idea.
with a dance studio, you're not gonna have the input costs of a beauty salon or
Right.
a car wash or anything like that. You have facilities expense and your teacher expense and then that's it, so
Mhm.
maybe some a little bit of inventory. Yeah, so you turned your rough draft in? Yeah.
I think it's great.
That's why it's a rough draft, you
Right.
know, because
Yeah.
then you can get
Right.
pointers and
Right.
ask questions.
There was things I thought of when I got home last night, I was like, I should have talked about that one, let's talk about that one.
And I was working on it, I'm like, I should ask that question.
Yeah, yeah. The thing, now, my business plan in the beginning was just to get me motivated and get me started and to get me researching a little outside of my comfort zone. And now it's more of a goal. Instead of, I like my balance sheets are where I'm at. I know where all my Airbnbs, my rentals, my real estate business, all the things that I do, my house flipping business, I know where I'm exactly at for my accountant for year-end taxes, but then those balance sheets I do to kind of motivate myself and say, I know I can add this much more rental, or I know that I can do this much more business, so.
And you were mentioning like pro forma statements, right?
Yeah, that would be.
Which would be the projections, we
Pro
talked
forma,
about that
yeah.
earlier in the year,
Yeah,
like the
the real life
estimates.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can look at, once you've made your estimates, your pro forma statements, then you can compare that to the actual, once it actually happens, to
Yeah,
see, okay,
how did I really do?
yeah, and where do I need to make my adjustments?
Right.
And you had a term that you said, like rethinking, reevaluating.
Yeah, I don't know, recalibrating probably is what I
whatever,
what I
yeah.
did. One of the biggest things, the reason that I have to do a pro forma or an estimate for the future, and this sounds really strange, but in a small town, this is really prevalent, is what is my donation budget?
Uh-huh,
And it's hard to say no to everybody, because I have so many people that want donations.
sure,
And so on my pro forma or my projected, I do an amount that this is how much money per month I'm gonna donate.
Mhm.
And once that's capped out, I just say no. And so there's some real life examples of why you're doing projections to help yourself and protect yourself a little.
And how often do you reevaluate your goals and reevaluate where you're at? you know?
If the industry's being good to me and we're all calm, at the end of the year is when I do my goal setting. But often there is interjected stressors
Sure,
and major things that are going to throw a loop in my business. So there's a new ruling for the state of Kansas that requires something. That's gonna cost me more for this to be applied, or there's somebody that started doing different drone footage and I didn't know about it, so I had to buy a brand new drone and learn how to do that and take the classes, and now I can do droning this way, you know, so it just depends what the industry throws at me.
But that was quite a big investment of time and money.
Yes, any of it is.
And
yeah.
why would you think you had to do that?
Well, I wanna be the best
Be
that
the-
there
yeah.
is, cause you're gonna list with the person.
Right.
I want you to scroll on Zillow and be like, oh, I know those are Melanie's pictures,
Uh-huh.
and you can do that.
And you need to be competitive.
Mhm.
Otherwise, the others will leave you in the
Right,
dust, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and you have to stick true to who you really are, but you also have to be reactive to the environment.
Well, yeah. Any other questions?
This is a random thing of
Yeah.
from housing to loans
It's
to
wonderful.
real estate.
Yeah.
My offer to you is that my door is always open. I will always sit down. I think you are so important to me, and you are so important to this campus, and you're so important to our world right now. My door is always open, and in 3 years, if you get ready to buy a house and you're like, you know, there was a lady that came and talked to us one time, and she seemed really trustworthy. I'm gonna look her up and Google her. Do that. Call me. I'll help you in 3 years too. The key to making this world a better place is for me to help you, even if you're purchasing in San Francisco. So I will always help you with anything that I can. And my door is always open, not even for just housing stuff. So
Okay.
I'm glad you're here. Kudos to you for surviving through it. So
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for taking
Yeah.
time from your busy schedule
Yeah, you
to
bet.
come and talk with us, so.
I love it. So.
Yeah, we appreciate it very, very much. Anybody else have a question before we go? Anything? Okay, all right. Well,
Good luck
thank
in real estate down
you.
the road if you decide to.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's a stressful but really vital career.
Before you go, can we get a picture of you?
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, I'll turn off the recording here. And